Welcome, people of the Information Station. I am your host, SW, and this is an MLA. We're going over MLA formatted papers, the 8th edition, which is probably going to update soon. And when it does, I'll make another video. Because formatting rules do change quite often. If you are used to old style MLA, it's always good to have a refresher because they do update quite frequently. And one of the things I use in my classes is a sample MLA document, but it's not just a sample MLA paper. It actually explains formatting. So my students will have this available on um, Moodle or whatever platform I use for the class. If you are interested in obtaining a PDF copy of this, I'll be happy to share with you. But here we go in explaining MLA formatting. All right, so uh, it's always good to double check these things as you're going through because like I said, MLA rules do update quite frequently, and it's always good to make sure that what you're teaching is on the examples that you have. So, just to kind of clarify, we will get into this later on in the paper, but this up here, the last name up here, you have to double click in order to select it. That is the header. That is a page header. Okay. This here, which you see on the first page, but if you scroll to the second page, it's not there. Okay, that is considered the MLA header. Okay, this only appears on the first page. So this is typically the first thing you type up. Okay, and then once you start, you put the title of your paper here. I am personally not picky about titles, but some teachers are, so so it's good to ask. The first paragraph rather of your paper is your introduction paragraph. And I'm not just going to read this stuff. I just want to read it for those who are listening, basically. The first paragraph of your paper is your introduction paragraph of your paper. I think I can put of your paper. The first paragraph is the introduction paragraph. I'm editing this as I go. Typically, this paragraph will introduce your reader to your topic, rather. Typically, this paragraph will introduce your topic to your reader in your own words. That works. The last sentence of your introductory paragraph typically is your thesis sentence, okay, which helps your reader get a good idea of what the paper is, what you're covering in one sentence. Now, I have this as being the thesis statement of this entire paper. And you can see it's quite long. Some people have quite long and detailed thesis statements. Other teachers, this was a debate. We had quite a few rounds of at when I was a GTA. Um, that is a thesis statement necessary in a paper. So, your teacher may not even care about thesis statements. Your teacher may be one of those that really wants a very detailed one. So, to me, it's just always good to put one. And it's usually the last sentence of that paragraph. Thus, the designing of this paper is a default document for you to not only visually see a typical modern language association or MLA formatted document, but also to explain the basic workings of an MLA documented paper. Though you may need to check with your teacher for specific details they prefer. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, the paragraphs. So we're talking about these things, this indentation here, right here. Okay, you see how that's not the same, this indentation right here? That is a paragraph. Okay, paragraph break. That's achieved by doing the Enter button on your keyboard. The paragraphs following the introductory paragraph would typically start the body of your paper. That's what they call it. There are typically many paragraphs in your paper, depending on the length of your paper. So if you have a 1,000-word paper, you may have anywhere from 3 paragraphs to 10. It just depends. Most paragraphs will be ideas you want to talk about or supporting paragraphs giving examples to an idea mentioned in the previous paragraph. An example would be having a paragraph quoting from a source the statistics of how many people have obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, which, as a side note, this is how you do acronyms. Okay. You spell it out the first time and then you do the shortened version, and then you can, every time past that, when you mention that word, you can just use the shortened version. In a specific area, videos author. Okay, so we'll get into in-text citations later in this document, but this is an in-text citation for a fake website. Okay. Um, Anyway, you would have a source that talks about those statistics and then talk about how that relates to your topic. Okay, what are you talking about? Why do we care about the statistics of OCD? Nobody cares. I mean, people care, but why do we care as the reader? You need to tell us. See, and that goes outside the quoted area, and we'll get into that more. So this would be a quoted area, and then you talk about how that relates to your topic. Then your next paragraph could be a specific example of what the people experience when they have OCD or some other different type of thing. Okay? So, there's a lot of ways you can organize your paragraphs. There's so many ways to organize paragraphs. It's crazy. But paragraphs are typically over 4 sentences long and under a double spaced page in length. So this is a good size paragraph right here. Sorry. Go away. Please don't do that. Anyway, these are good sized paragraphs. Okay. When you have a paragraph that is over a page in length, it just keeps going on and on and on, and you're not breaking it up for your reader so that they go, oh, that was one topic. We're now either moving into more specific information about that topic or a different topic. See? So, yes, paragraph breaks are important. When you have one paragraph in a paper, an academic paper, it might get thrown out. So make sure you put those paragraph breaks. While you typically have many paragraphs in the body of your paper, one important part is your transitions between paragraphs. Transitions are words or phrases that help your reader keep up with you while reading your paper. So in other words, they kind of help guide your reader along. If you have one paragraph about brown bears and then jump into the next paragraph about Chinook or king salmon runs in Alaska, you still need to transition to get your audience to bridge the gap between the two topics. And I do need to put that topics. If your topic is about wildlife in Alaska, this is your main overall topic. If your overall topic is about wildlife in Alaska, then you could transition, as this author states, another animal that lives in Alaska other than the brown bear is the salmon. And I put another in-text there to give you an example of an in-text and an introductory signal phrase. So we have a quoted area here. This transition sentence ties your previous paragraph about bears to your next paragraph about salmon and to the original topic, or I should put overall topic, all in one sentence. So it's a lovely sentence that just one sentence transitions, relates everything, gives us a heads up. Oh, is that what brown bears have to do with salmon? Okay. Got it. All right. So now we're moving on to citing. Citing is a very important in all information from a source, and I cannot stress this enough. All information from a source has to be separated from your ideas within the paper and cited. And cited. There are two main parts that help you keep your ideas separate from the source. Now, I call them introductory signal phrases. Some textbooks call them signal phrases. Some call them introductory phrases. Some call them, a transitional phrase. There's a lot of different words that people are using for this. For my class, I try to be consistent and use introductory signal phrases because that's what you're doing. It's a signal phrase telling the reader, "Hey, this is introducing somebody else's words or ideas here." So it's an introductory signal phrase. And the in-text citation. So these two elements are what we're working with. The introductory signal phrase is a transition that starts the quoted area and lets the reader know that, yay, someone else is talking now, and what follows is not your ideas. So I literally did the wave arms in the air thing. Okay. And I usually do when I'm face to face with my students. I jump up and down. Hey, somebody else is talking now. This is not me. All right. So the in-text citation has two purposes. To end the quoted area and to point the reader to the works cited page citation, which will point the reader back to the original source. So this is a chain. This is a line. This is a chain, a linked thing. Okay. And so it goes from the in-text to the works cited page where you can find which has enough information to point the reader to the original source. Okay, so if you break this link, it's bad because this is citing, this is plagiarism, this is the whole 9 yards. This is why people get in so much trouble with plagiarism and problems with their papers, is because they don't have these in-text citations pointing to the works cited page, having enough information on the works cited page to point you to the original source. Because if you just put a little bit of something up there, a link does not make a source, a citation. It's just not helpful. Other formats use footnotes, such as Chicago, I know for a fact. But APA also uses in-text in the same way, and we will be doing an APA paper shortly, but not today. The difference between APA and MLA is that it does add the year of publication into the in-text. So be aware if you are switching between APA and MLA formatting, especially for different classes or even within the same class. This would be a typical in-text for MLA, whereas APA would have the year. All right. So that's the difference between MLA and APA. They both follow the same rule for in-text. Okay, and we'll cover that rule shortly. So if you go to page 6 of this paper, you can then find the citation that matches the following in-text, Orville Online Book. As I have had to add more to this in-text to clearly point to one citation from Orville this information came from. Okay, so if we go to page 6, I'm going to scroll down here. Page 6, we have Orville right here. Well, wait a minute, we've got another Orville. And this is why the works cited page is in alphabetical order, so that you can clearly see I got A, B, C, M, O, V, W. Okay? And this is very helpful when you have only one or two sources, or maybe three. It's very hard to get the concept. But when you have a very long works cited page, like 3 pages long, this is very, very important. Okay. So I've gone down here to my O section, and you see I have 2 citations from Orville. Now, these are fake citations, but one is Orville, author Orville, and he wrote 2 books, an online book of birds and a book title from ebook collection. Okay, so if we go back up, oops, if we go back up, right here, Orville online book. Okay, so if we go back, Orville, no first names in the in-text, Orville, online book. It goes to this one, not this one, because that's the wrong one. It goes to this one. Okay, so with MLA, if you have 2 citations that have the exact same author, you expand the in-text out to cover something that's unique that keeps it separate from the other ones. Now, APA is a little easier. It has the date right here between the two, and then it simply puts an A after the date, both here and in the in-text. So it's very easy to match them up. All right, so we'll go back. Yes, we have a lot to get through in this paper. All right. So direct quotes, there are 3 ways. I should put that first. There are 3 ways to use sources within your source information within your paper. Direct quotes are, as one source points out, again, this is our introductory signal phrase. This is our in-text. As one source points out, 3 words or more in order from a source, and points out, ha ha ha, see, this is why you reread things. Direct quotes are, points out that. There we go. As one source points out, we'll put quotation marks around the whole thing. That's the good part about fake sources. You could do stuff like this. Anyway, don't do it for your paper. Direct quotes are for whatever is directly word for word. So direct quotes are 3 words or more in order from the source and surrounded by quotation marks. So this, if this was a real source, this exactly would be on the paper. Now, if it said direct quotes somewhere else, blah, 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 and you didn't want all the blah, blahs, and then it said 3 words or more, then you would put just the in-text, the direct quotation marks. You would put the quotation marks here, take them off here, and oops, that didn't work. Take the quotes. Oh my goodness, seriously, quit that. Okay, technical issues. As one source points out that, direct quote, no, direct quotes, it works. As one source points out, direct, comma, I'm missing a comma. That's what's wrong with me. Direct quotes are, as one source points out, see, that's, yeah, see, we've got it up here too. So that would be outside the quoted area, which means that would be our words. And if I'm talking about a source has this information, no, it needs to be in there. As one source points out, direct quotes are 3 words or more in order from the source and surrounded by quotation marks. So direct quotes, that's only 2 words. Maybe it says direct quotes is a great way to keep your sources separate. 3 words or more in order. See, that's what the original source would say. So this is paraphrased or summarized. Okay. This is directly word for word from the source. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope that little mess kind of helped. Anyway, here's our in-text citation to end that. And if you go to we have Chavez, and if you go down to the works cited page, there's our Chavez. So this is the source. And this is, for those of you in my class having to do the Everyone's an Author book, this is a sample. This is not an actual citation, but this is a sample citation for that book. All right, which is one of the main textbooks of the class. All right. Paraphrases are reworded information from a source, while summaries are shortened rewording of a source in your own words. All information from a source is treated the same in your paper. Whether you directly quoted, paraphrased, or summarized, that source info goes between the introductory signal phrase and the in-text citation. For paraphrases and summaries not separated by quotation marks, it is imperative to separate your ideas from the source ideas due to all the writing being in your own words. In other words, we can't figure out which, and I'm talking teachers, we can't figure out which is yours and which is from the source. Okay, so if you got any ideas about this source at all or any transitions, you won't get credit for it if you don't cite properly. Because you want credit for your ideas as much as the source's authors want credit for their ideas. Thus, it's important to make sure to start the quoted area with the introductory signal phrase and the quoted area with the in-text citation, so the reader can clearly see where your ideas are versus the person you are quoting. You can introduce a quote by stating something as simple as according to one source, or as complex as the following example. In the book, How to Write Bibliographies, the author suggests, etc., etc., etc. In text citation and this part then is the person who wrote this, words, our ideas. This, before the introductory signal phrase, is our words or our ideas. But this here and this here separates it. Okay? So, if you don't have, I'll give you a tip now that's not in here. If you go and if you have a choice of topics and you don't have an opinion about your topic, you might need to find another topic, because this part, the part outside the quoted area, that's what we're interested in most of the time. What's your conclusions about this? What's the point you're trying to make here? Because I mean, if we wanted a summary, and some teachers do ask for this, and I even asked for it in 111. If I'm asking for a summary, I want a summary. But if I don't want a summary, I'll say I want an academic paper or research analysis of, different types of papers. Okay? So make sure you figure out what type of paper your teacher's looking for. The in-text citations, however, are best created after you make the works cited page citation for the source. Okay? The reason is that the in-text points to whatever is listed first on the works cited page citation the information comes from. Because of the wide variety of sources available, there are many variations in text citations depending on the number of authors, no authors, page numbers, no page numbers, corporate authors, or if you have a title with no author. It's a mess. But this rule goes for all. In-text citations points to whatever is listed first on the works cited page citation the information came from. Okay? So that's why if you go to page 6 again, you will see we have this listed in what is called hanging format. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But the reason being, we can see clearly what is first on that citation. Okay? First. Whatever's first. Okay? All right. So let's go back up to find our place. All right. You were somewhere in here. For example, one source suggests on page 48 of the journal article found online that you have two authors listed as the following: B author and C author. 48. Okay, so that's page 48, and I'm looking for a citation that has two authors. Okay, and this is their last names. Okay, this is what it would be right here. I have B author and C author. And I have B author's first name and C author's first name. Okay, so that's where we're at. Oops, a little farther down. Another source may state and start with a company or organization or government. Okay, don't overskip this point, because this is one place where a lot of people, when you're making up citations, you'll go, oh, well, this is the homepage of a corporate author here, on a corporate website for .gov or .org. Okay, in the link, instead of .com, it'll say .org or .gov or something like that. Okay, that right there will tell you if it's a corporate author. You'll go, oh, but on this website it doesn't say a person's name. No, it won't, because the company, takes authorship for the things put on their website. Okay, so like I wrote for ECU for a little bit, East Carolina University. And when I didn't put stuff directly on their website, but there is stuff on their website that I did write. Okay. That stuff does not have my name on it, will not have my name on it. Why? Because ECU is the corporate author. Okay. So they will take ownership of that information. So thus they will be your author. They will be the first thing, and they will end up being your in-text as well. Okay, so that's a point that while you're making up your citations, make sure to check if it's a government, company, or an organization as the author that could claim authorship for that piece of writing. Okay. Movies and dictionaries, encyclopedias, authorless articles. Dictionaries and encyclopedias are also called reference material, not to be confused with an APA reference page. Very interesting. But all these things don't follow. A lot of times the teacher will say, oh, well, put the author in the in-text. Okay, and that's what they typically say, but it's not correct. Okay, because the movies, the dictionaries, encyclopedias, authorless articles don't follow that rule. Okay, that's why I restated the rule to be put the first item on the worksite based citation in the in-text. Okay, because for something such as a movie title, it's going to be in italics. It's going to be the movie title, just the same as it appears here. So however it looks here, if it's in italics or if it's in quotation marks, and we'll see that one in a second, if it's in quotation marks, you put that in the in-text. Now these three dots here for this in-text show that it's been shortened. Okay, so if we go back up a little bit, all right, if you have a source that does not have an author listed in the worksite page, the citation will start with the article title. Your in-text citations will be listed as one encyclopedia suggests by the first item on the citation. So Voila, there is our in-text for an authorless article or a dictionary source. The article title, if you mention it within the paper, you still put it in quotation marks. If you put a movie title or a book title or a website, journal, magazine, newspaper, in other words, the bigger item, okay? So a movie has different chapters within the movie. A TV show has different episodes of a TV show. All those are italicized, both on the works cited page and in the paper. So just keep that in mind, okay? Um, though we cannot cover every example, though, the previous examples are most common and do match the works cited page citations for this paper, as we keep seeing, okay? Uh, when writing your paragraphs, so moving on from citations, when writing your paragraphs, I could probably transition better here, but I won't. See if anybody catches it. There are many formatting issues you also need to take into consideration before turning your paper in. Your paper will typically be in Times New Roman 12-point font. That's what this font is, okay? Now, of course, this being a video, it might be larger or smaller depending on the video, but the point is this is Times New Roman 12-point font, which you can find on a Word document up here. Google also has that ability, but it moves it over by one and has some other weird thing there. It doesn't do the same thing, but it will let you select Times New Roman 12-point font. So it should look like this, okay? And double spacing means that there is that much space between the words, okay? Single space is much smaller and harder to comment on. So please double space. 12-point font and double spaced. The main text of your paper has a first line indent of 0.5 inches, which we talked about. Okay, that's 0.5 inches, which you can do either by tabbing the first line over or by highlighting the text and going to paragraph settings and changing them to first line indentation. In Google Docs, you would highlight and then play around with this ruler at the top. Okay, so just be aware of that. And as you can see up here, it has a 1 and it's halfway between the 1. So it's the halfway mark. Headers can also be tricky formatting issue on MLA papers. In the header, you double click the header as we did earlier. Double click left align. So we have to go back to text and then have it left aligned. Okay, or right aligned. Right. We align it to the right, not left. Yay. Align your text to the right by either clicking the Align Right button on the paragraph section on the Home tab or by double-clicking the right side of your paper. Type your last name, then insert a page number by finding the Insert tab. And Google Docs has it where it will insert a page number. And they do it quite a bit differently, but what you can do is basically just insert the page number, then move it where you need it to be. Okay, so that's the best I can tell you to do with it. Note that the MLA header containing the teacher's name, your name, the teacher's name, class, and date appears only on the first page. We haven't seen it since the first page. And is not the same as the page header, which does appear on every page. Okay. I'll give you a little bit of background on that. The reason we have this is because it used to be all papers were printed out. And so MLA formatting was the record to keep the pages together in case they weren't stapled. And, okay, here's page 4 of so and so's paper. Okay, got it. See what I'm saying? So, anyway, uh, yeah. So that's the MLA header versus the page headers. Page header. There. Okay. Finally, the last paragraph of your paper would be your conclusion paragraph, briefly going over everything covered in your paper. And I mean briefly, and bringing up any conclusions or what's your main point you would like your audience to consider. Okay. Now, remember, we had a thesis in the first paragraph. Some people say the conclusion should be a restatement of your thesis. It's not copy and paste of your thesis, it is a restatement. So you're rewording it or you're saying, now that we've seen all this stuff we've covered in the paragraphs of this paper, what do we think about it? Okay, what's the main point? Along these lines, if you have trouble getting your thesis statement done, think to yourself, what's the main point of my paper? Sometimes you won't be able to answer that question until you write the whole paper. Okay. And sometimes once you write the whole paper, your original thesis statement may be different. So once you start into the conclusion, that's a great time to go, okay, what was the main point of this paper? Oh, this is the main point of my paper. Okay, that's my thesis statement. It needs redoing. Okay, let me redo the thesis statement, then I'll write my conclusion. Um, in MLA formatted paper, many parts make up an AMLA paper. Getting your topic, your research, your ideas across to your reader effectively is the focus of the MLA paper. Formatting transitions and quoted areas using introductory signal phrases and in-text are only some of the parts that can help you get those ideas across to your academic audience. Some of the other parts I would say would be grammar, doing a spell check. Word does have a spell check. If nothing else, Grammarly is free. They have free versions that you can even add on to Word. So, there is help out there for figuring out grammar and figuring out how to get your ideas across to your audience. Okay. So these are only a part of it, but this is the most, I would say, formatting and quoted areas are the two main visual things that will keep your paper from being cast aside as being, oh, this is worthless. You may have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't format it right and you don't keep those quotes separate from your ideas, you won't get credit for it. And it's sad but true. Very true. And I hate that it's true, but that's the way it goes. So anyway, you need to get those ideas across to your academic audience. After your conclusion paragraph, see, I really didn't transition good here. But after your conclusion paragraph, you would then insert a page break and start your works cited page. On your works cited page, you sort the entries alphabetically so it is easier to match the in-text to the citation it belongs to, and put all the citations in hanging format as illustrated below. You don't put them in order of how you use them in the paper. I've had a few students that thought that was the rule. It is not. What you do is you put them alphabetically. Okay, just like we saw before. A, B, C. All right, so I have to do the entire alphabet usually whenever I'm doing a works cited page just to, okay, wait a minute, I got O, M, L, M, N, O, P. Okay, O is after M, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W. There we go. Okay, so it's in alphabetical order. Um, and you put all the citations in hanging format as illustrated below. In Microsoft Word, you can find the hanging format in paragraph options. So that you can right click here and go into paragraph options. There's a way of getting into it in other places, but here we got indentation special hanging, okay, which is right here by 0.5 inches. But if you're working with Google Docs, you need to work with this rulery thing up here. And you see how I can move this and it changes? That's how you get your worksite page in hanging format. Okay. Um, if you choose to tab the lines over, which is the tab key, be aware that any formatting change to the page, such as margin size, font changes, even like downloading it to a PDF, will make the lines re-indent in the wrong places. So it's best to use the ruler or the settings to make the worksite page in hanging format. All right, the last sentence of your conclusion paragraph should be wrapping up the main point of your paper and leaving your reader with a specific thought. Though there are many reasons we format, the standardization of MLA and APA papers are so that information is correctly attributed to the individuals or companies that are responsible for that information while making our own point about the topic we are writing about. So that is the main point of an APA paper. I will not go over every single one of these types of citations. You'll find examples of these in any kind of formatting book or in at Al Purdue's website, which I highly recommend, as that does update more than printed textbooks do. But here's our authors. No first names in the in-text, but we have them listed here. And so the point of the works cited page is to give us enough information to say to the reader, hey, this is where I got the stuff from. So this is an author of a book published by Adventure Time Press, 2007. So this is a paper book. I do not find this online. This is an article from a journal, and it has two authors. So we have one author here, one author here, article title, journal title, volume number. This is how you know a journal from everything else. Volume number and issue number, date, page numbers. That means it was printed at some point in time. However, due to this link, I now know it is available online. Okay, so this is mostly like a PDF. So if I found a PDF article online, that would be this citation. And this access date is the last day I saw it. Okay, so in other words, I'm saying to the person reading this, on this date, this information was on that website. If it's not there tomorrow, I can't help you. Here we have the author, one author, article title, book title, editions. So if you're doing everyone's an author, make sure you get the editions right, because it changes your page numbers. Even if the article is in both books, you need to have the page numbers. And we need the edited, who's the editor's information. Okay, so we need that edited by, we need those words and then those people listed. Our publisher and the date, the year published. Corporate author, this is a website citation here. Okay, so we start with our corporate author's name, whatever they go by. If Now, some teachers may be more specific on this. I prefer it written out, but some teachers may accept both ways. I accept both ways. If you're citing, let's say, a college like ECU, okay? East Carolina University. And their corporate author name is East Carolina University or ECU. You can put either one. I don't care. Other teachers may care, so check with them. But if you use whichever one you use here, you need to use the same one in your in-text. Okay? So if you spell out East Carolina University here, your in-text will be East Carolina University. If it is ECU, your in-text will be ECU. Do you see the difference? Okay. So, same thing. Whatever's here, just copy and paste. Seriously, I've got it highlighted. Copy. Go back up to wherever my in-text is, you know. Boom. Whoops. Paste. Boom. Move the period to the end. Whoops. There we go. Done. I'm done. That's the in-text that points to that citation. I'm done. You see? It's easy. It's easy once it clicks. Okay, so I'm hoping this video will help it click. The home page, that is the page you're looking at. Okay, this corporate website probably has, at least 5 different tabs at top. At least. Every tab is a separate source because this here and this will change. Okay, so the page you're looking at is a different page and a different link. Okay, so make sure as you're getting through there that you have the correct information so we can find that original source. YouTube videos, here we have online books, Kindles, and ebook editions. I put these on for my 112 class in case they do books and things. And we used to do a book versus movie thing, so we may bring that back. This is our word or phrase you looked up. So this is actually a dictionary or encyclopedia or reference type source. Okay, so if I looked up in a dictionary horses, okay, then the word or phrase I looked up would be horses. The dictionary would be whatever dictionary I was using. The date might be whatever year it was copyrighted. Okay, and you can find that copyright information down at the bottom of the website. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's usually like a copyright date there. If you have no date whatsoever, you put N period, D period. Oops, highlight the right thing. The N period, D period will tell the reader that you did look for a date, but it is not available. This is highly needed in APA format. Okay, remember we said that the in-text requires the date in the in-text. If you have no date, you need to put that ND in there. With MLA, it's not as needed, but it is good to have it in there to show the reader that, yes, I did look for a date. I did not find one. Here it is. Okay, we need the whole link and then the access date. All right. Also note that not all of these have matching in-text. We did not have a matching in-text for this one. I think we have matching in-text for everything else. And this would be plagiarism because the question becomes, did I use this source? Where did I use this source? Is it somewhere in my paper? I don't know. And that is something I look for when I'm doing my grading. Is I find an in-text. Okay, let's find an in-text. Word or phrase, 26. So I'm looking for page 26 of something that doesn't have page numbers. It's not perfect, but it helps. Okay. So word or phrase, yes, we have a citation for that. Okay. So that's something that I definitely look for in when I'm grading these type papers. And you know, each teacher is a little different, but this making sure you have these and the in-text to match these, that will cut down on plagiarism a lot. Okay. And people will know that you did mean to cite this paper. You are trying to give credit where credit is due, and they'll be more receptive of your ideas in your paper. So I hope that this has helped you with MLA formatting. And there should be another video for APA at some point, linked at some point. So, from all of us at the information station, have a great day.